So, hi everybody, how are you doing? And I'm gonna share something with you that I learned the other day talking with a friend of mine, and it was very key. So stay tuned and listen. So we were talking and he was telling me how he's going through this situation, and he's telling me that, oh, I'm not gonna follow my emotions anymore because every time that I follow my emotions, later on I regret like the decisions that I've made. And he was telling to me that he's gonna try now to lean more on his intuition. So he said, I'm now really gonna focus on my intuition so that I can make better decisions. And it really got me thinking, and I was like, bro, there's something still not okay with what you're saying. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, okay, are you open to actually hear what I'm going to say, because you may get triggered by it? He said, bro, that's why I'm calling you. So for you watching this, are you really wanting to listen to what I'm going to say or not? If you don't want to, you can stop the video. If you want to, keep going. So I explained to him that, okay, like hear me out for a second. The person that we are today is the result of the programming that we received in the first 7 years, right? He said, yes, 100%. And then I said, and also your intuition comes from you. He said, right? He said, okay, yeah. So if your emotions and your intuition comes from you, and you are the result of the programming that you received in the first 7 years, so even by you following your intuition, aren't you just like following the same path, the same pattern that you received, that you've been programmed with in the first 7 years? And then he was like, oh shit, like it makes sense. And for me, it was at a point where I'm like, I don't listen to my emotions, I don't listen to my intuitions, because for me, it comes from my programming. And my programming is something that I'm wanting to change because they are not serving me. The way I was programming my first 7 years are not serving me. So for me, wanting to change my programming, I cannot follow my emotions. I cannot listen to my intuition because they are almost the same thing. For me now, emotions and intuitions are just the same. So for me, I just have principles, and one principle, for example, is to always do what's best for all. And another one is self-trust, the principle of self-trust. The other one is the principle of self-responsibilities. I've got 13 of those principles, and I have just given you 3, but I have 10 more. Maybe I'm going to make a video on that. But those are the principles that I now try to live by, because like I said, my intuitions and my emotions, they come from my programming, and therefore I cannot trust my programming because I know that I have a shitty programming from my childhood. So I cannot trust them. But what can I trust then? He asked me that, okay, because I'm sharing that because he didn't ask me like, what can I do? Then I said to him, that's why you need principles or values. What are your values? What are your principles? Because your principles and your values will never change. Your intuition, your emotions, they are always changing based on your programming, but those will never change. That's why I live my life by principles, so that I can always trust them. And some people will tell me that, but your intuition comes from the divine, that comes from the higher being. And maybe that's the case, maybe that's not the case, but I have a question for you. If it comes from a divine being, right, and you are like a receiver, right, so meaning the way the receiver is built determine the kind of frequency that you receive, just like a radio transmitter, right? So the radio, based on the frequency that you set the radio on, determines the frequency that it receives or the channel that it gets. So even if your intention or intuition comes from a divine or from the universe, you are still the receiver, and based on how the receiver is set up, that's the kind of intuition that you're gonna get from the universe. So meaning at the end of the day, regardless of how you see this, you are still, based on your programming, is still gonna determine what kind of intuition you get and what kind of emotions you get. And like I said, if you weren't programmed effectively, then you are also not gonna get good intuitions, because your programming is what's receiving the intuition. That's why for me, it doesn't make any sense to listen to either my emotions or my intuitions, because they are all the same, stemming from my pre-programming that I received from my childhood. So that was the realization that I got, something that I got out of a conversation having with a friend. And I don't know, share it with me in the comment what you think about it, what you get out of it, and talk to you another time. Bye.